record. Welcome back to the Rock Fantasy YouTube channel tonight in another episode of Rock Fantasy Files. Tonight, we're setting the clocks back to 1984 as we debate three albums that are celebrating 40th anniversaries in this upcoming year of 2024. Here are the three contestants, the three albums, and this is, I think, in alphabetical order. First off is the fifth studio album by Iron Maiden, Power Slave, released September 3rd, 1984 on Capitol Records. Second up is the second studio album by Mercyful Fate, Don't Break the Oath. That was released September 7th of 84, of course, on Roadrunner Records. And my paper's stuck together here. Bear with me just a moment. I'm not a professional newscaster. So third up is the second studio album by Metallica, Ride the Lightning, released July 27th on Megaforce Records. So we've got these three albums to talk about tonight. I think this is one of the more difficult episodes, at least for me, as I look like all of this. And I was going back and forth all day. I think my number one could become number three. I think it could I could just pull it from a hat because I love all three of these albums. But I guess we got to pick a winner. Tonight, we've got Ove staying up all night, our Dracula from Norway. We got B-Rock back, his second episode with us from the South. We got Miles of Metal, one of our regulars who took some time off, moved. He's in a new studio tonight, and he's back. He's been out wrestling the Gators in New Orleans and all that stuff. We've got Tracy Stanton doing her first episode with us. I've been trying to get her to do this for a long time. She'll tell you a little bit about what she does when we come up to him. We got the mighty Count Ralphus, our local metal historian, also from the Sea of Tranquility channel and Hudson Valley Squares. We got Ed Farsley from Armageddon Productions. We got Denny Barth from the Mighty Aggression and our own Sasquatch, and tonight's scorekeeper. And then we've got Tony Dio from Tony Dio World down there in North Carolina. We got Frank Tossi from Another Demon on tonight. He's actually going to be playing a gig here in Middletown at Quinn's Pins, where I book on February 3rd with Jotunheim, Witch's Dance, the Mercyful Fate, King Diamond tribute, of course, Another Demon, and Skulovich from Philadelphia are going to be rounding that out. We got Brad Mader from Must Not Kill, former All Out War, and Dean Guitars. And we've got the mighty John McAtee. And we lost Tracy somehow.
Yeah, she just disappeared.
So anyhow, hopefully she pops back in. So we're going to start this off tonight. We're going to go around to each person. We're going to do it all at once. I know Ralph kind of thought it is good sometimes to go 3, 2, 1, but we got a big group tonight, and I think it might make it a little bit quicker if we just do it. I'm going to kick off with you, Ove, tonight, since you're on my left here, my first square of the night. Let us know what your number 3 album out of this is and why, and go 2-1 for us. And hopefully Tracy comes back.
Well, for me, number 3 is Mercyful Fate. I have the shortest experience with them, so that's why they are number 3. No other reason. Songs I really like is Nightmare, Desecration of Souls, and Come to the Sabbath. For number 2, I got Metallica, Red Lightning. And my favorite songs here are Trapped in the Ice, Red Lightning, and Call of Cthulhu. And for number 1 is our Maiden, Power Slave. I've had that album for a long time, and I really like it. My favorite songs there are Lost for Words, Power Slave, and my favorite song is The Duelists.
All right. That
Short
was
and sweet.
quick. That was quick and easy. Maybe we should have went down all the way around there, Ralph. Well, anyhow,
it ain't gonna stay that way.
It ain't gonna stay that way. All right,
No.
so we're gonna go over. We're gonna go over to B-Rock.
Oh boy, nice.
You're kicking it off second as I try to negotiate our other guest Tracy back in here.
Okay, now Mercyful Fate is my number 3. I remember when the album hit. back in 1984. I think it was in September. And I was on a different plane at that time with music. Things were changing in my life. I was 14 years old. Things were coming and going, but I was into a lot of different musical styles. Merciful Fate, loved King Diamond's voice. Nightmares is a great song. I visit the album here and there to check it out again. I do dig it. It just is not very prevalent with me as a lot of other bands. So that is my number three. Then it takes me to, okay, the two heavyweights here. Metallica and frickin' Iron Maiden are both top tier bands to me, big favorites of mine. My chair is stitched
I see
Iron Maiden.
that. Okay.
So I sit there and I go, okay, Metallica came out in July, and I remember seeing the ad for that album. I also remember seeing the ad in like Circus or Hit Parader for Iron Maiden's new one. Now I was a fan of Iron Maiden. I discovered them with Number of the Beast, like most of us. Kick-ass album. Peace of Mind came out. Another solid freaking album. But in this one, even though my love for Iron Maiden is like huge, in this battle, Iron Maiden comes in number two. Power Slave does it for me. It's a great album, Lost for Words. Even the two singles that came out, Aces High, 2 Minutes to Midnight, great songs. Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, who cannot deny that song. But Metallica, Ride the Lightning. When I saw that article and I did not know who Metallica was, I didn't even discover Kill 'Em All yet. But I saw that thing and I saw that logo. How can you not look at that logo and go, oh my God, I got to get that tape the next day? So I went out the next day, got that tape, and I put it on, and that son of a bitch changed my whole attitude, my whole life. These guys, just denim and leather, just freaking crushing it. So to this day, I revisited this album this week, and it just made me feel the same way. Fade to Black, Trapped Under Ice, Call of Tulu, Ride the Lightning. You just cannot deny this album. This album is actually my number one of all time album. So there
Wow.
was no doubt in my mind that this album was going to be number one tonight for me.
Yeah,
Right.
wow. Number one album. It's cool.
Yeah.
As we keep going down the road here, we're going to Louisiana to Mr. Miles Berggren of the Miles and Metal channel.
Yeah, so it's good to be back and coming back on this episode. These three heavyweights for me was no easy task of doing. When I initially saw that we was doing these three albums, I thought about it and I was like, you know what? All three of these albums to me are 10 out of 10s.
Yep.
I really can't. It's hard for me to say which one's my favorite. So what I did was I went at this with a little bit of a different direction. Which one influenced me more in my taste of music going forward? Because the way it sits right now, one of these albums is my favorite by this band. Another one is tied with my favorite. And the other one is one of the most influential albums that I've ever heard. So with that being said, they're all 10 out of 10s for me. But at number three, I'm going to go with Power Slave. Not saying that this is a bad album because it's at three. This is actually my favorite Iron Maiden album. I love this record. My first record, Iron Maiden record I ever heard was Number of the Beast. And I loved it. I love Number of the Beast. It's my second favorite. But the first time I ever heard Power Slave, it solidified me as an Iron Maiden fan. The first song I ever heard off this record was Aces High. To me, it's one of the best opening tracks of an album of all time. It might be my favorite Iron Maiden track. 2 Minutes to Midnight. I remember when I was younger, I was playing Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and this was on the game, and I, would always ride around doing crazy stuff on that game, listening to 2 Minutes to Midnight. The Duelist, Flash of the Blade, great songs. Power Slave, the title track's one of my favorites as well. Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, the epic closing track of this record. I do have the vinyl. I was going to show it, but with moving and everything, it's still in storage. I have it on cassette. I have 2 cassettes of this, actually. I don't know why. But I love this record. It's my favorite Iron Maiden album. But influence-wise, I'm going to say it's going to come in at 3 for me. So at number 2, this one was also hard to do because I love this band. I worship the ground this band walks on. But from influence-wise, number 2, I'm going to go with, can't see. Oh, yep. Mercyful Fate, Don't Break the Oath. Initially, I was going to say this was going to be number 1, but when I really thought about it, the other album that obvious at this point that I'm going to get into is, but this album to me ties with Melissa for my favorite. I love this record. Another one, A Dangerous Meeting, one of the best opening tracks of an album of all time. And, Come to the Sabbath, The Oath with, Nightmare, Gypsy, one of the best songs of their whole catalog, Gypsy. This record, I shouldn't have to go on about it because everybody knows, but it's just a special album to me, and I got the shirt on right here. So coming in at the number 1 album that influenced me the most, and obviously it's Ride the Lightning. The reason why this album influenced me the most as a metal fan is because I'm one of the younger ones on the panel. I'm only 30. The first time I ever heard Metallica was the Black Album. And I thought it was good hard rock and stuff like that. But I'll never forget is there was a kid, one of my buddies that lived down the street from me. He was starting to get into metal around the same time as me. And he was like, dude, do you know Metallica? And I was like, yeah, I know Metallica. I was like, yeah, I like the Black Album. Those Load and Reload albums suck shit. But I like, the Black Album's good for what it is. He was like, no, dude, you ever heard Ride the Lightning? I was like, I don't think I ever heard that record. And he was like, come see, dude. So we go into his room. He's got a little boom box right here. His dad had just bought him the CD. And he turned that motherfucker on. And the opening track is this little guitar, dun, 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 dun. I was like, what is this sissy shit that's coming on right now? Then all of a sudden, Fight Fire with Fire kicks off, and it blew my fucking brains out.
Yeah.
That song is one of my, and I'll never forget where I was when I first heard Fight Fire with Fire. And I was like, holy shit, this ain't the Black Album, dog.
Nope.
Like, no, bro. And then, the title track comes on. Then For Whom the Bell Tolls comes on. And then Fade to Black comes on. I'm like, skip that shit. Let's go to the next song. And then, the best Metallica song is on this record, Creeping Death. That song is their best song, in my personal opinion. It's my favorite song off this record. And I don't visit this record as much as probably Power Slave and Don't Break the Oath. But as an influence on me, the first time I heard this record is like, I want more of this. I want more of Fight Fire with Fire. That's what I want more of. Yeah. That's when I got into Slayer. That's when I got into Sepultura. That's when I got into Dark Angel. And then when I was like, I need to go heavier, and that's when I got into death metal, which is Cannibal Corpse, Morbid Angel, Incantation, Immolation, all those. Everything started off at Ride the Lightning. That's why I'm putting it at number 1, because this album has influenced me a lot in my life. So, yeah, number 1, Ride the Lightning.
Excellent, Miles. Tracy's back. And before she zooms off into the netherworlds, maybe we should have her. Would you like to go next, Tracy?
Okay, keep going. I'll come back around.
All right. You don't want to be next. All right. So we're gonna go We're going next to Mr. Count Ralphus.
Woo!
All right. So yeah, I mean, there's not a single song by all three albums. I love every fucking song, even Fade to Black. It's funny how I remember when that came out, there was people back then saying sell out because of Fade to Black, but I was like, Fight Fire with Fire was fucking a monster, fucking incredible, heaviest song at the time. So it was so bizarre that people would like already calling him a sellout back then. But all right, so I'm gonna go first. I gotta go. Like I said, I love these albums. It's hard putting one in front of the other, but my first one I got to go with is Power Slave. Even though I got the Power Slave head here, I got the flag, I got the CD, I got the cassette, I got the 2 Minutes to Midnight 7-inch.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I got the Aces High 12-inch.
Yeah.
And of course the vinyl, But in '84 back then, I listened to this album more than the other ones because I got into the other ones a little later. But this was my back patch back then in '84.
Nice.
My old.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Make me get my vest.
Yep.
I got the original old
the program.
World slavery. Yeah.
Yeah, so it hurts me to put such an amazing album at number 3, but man, what a competition we got going here. So yeah, that's it. I'm just gonna go right into the next one. I'm not going into the songs because, like I said, every song, every album, I really love. So the next one, the next two, it's hard to pick a number one, but Metallica, Ride the Lightning. I love this album. Every song, like Miles was saying, when Fight Fire with Fire hit after that acoustic intro, man, wow, it just blew me away. It's my favorite album, so you would think that would make it number one, but I got this. This is pretty cool collectible that I have. Is it's an actual
That was the show.
I was there.
There it is. That was it. Yeah.
From Lemore's, actually like taken off the wall at Lemore's back then.
Cool.
But,
Nice.
Wow. But yeah. So yeah, number one, I got to go with Mercyful Fate. One of my this and Melissa back to back are like one of the best 1-2 punches of all time, and I can't say nothing more about it. It's such an unbelievable, magical album. I love it, and that's my number one.
Ralph, were you on the bus trip to go to that from Rock and Roll Heaven, like I was, Rock and Roll Heaven North?
No, I was 14 years old.
Well, we went on a bus to the Metallica Armored St. Wasp. You were there at 14?
Me and B-Rock were 14, so unless our grandpa or uncles took us to the show, we couldn't get a ride to that shit.
Or just hung out with seniors.
Who
because I
got
remember kids in school coming in with the shirts the next day.
Yeah.
And for like the rest of the year, you seen those Wasp shirts and you seen the Metallica shirts.
Yeah.
The whole fucking rest of the school year. And it's and they played right in Poughkeepsie, and it's one of the most regrettable. I regret missing that show more than almost any show. It's I really wish I could have went there, but I somehow ended up with an original poster.
You got that? That's why I was asking. How'd you get the poster? It sounded like you were there somehow. And I know there's an age difference.
Remember that stupid guy that sold me all his shit or gave me all his shit?
Oh.
I love those. You gotta love those stupid people.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to mention who that is, but I think I got an idea who he is.
20 bucks.
So we got a win for Mercyful Fate from the Count. We're going to head next over to Ed Farsley from Armageddon Productions. You just announced a concert today. What did you announce today? Maybe we'll start off with that. Then.
Sure. How are you doing, everybody, by the way? So Saturday, April 13th, I just announced it's my artillery show from last year that had to be rescheduled. It's the 40th anniversary tour. And I combined it with the Heathen who are on tour. Going to be an Artillery Heathen co-headline show with War Curse, Vapor, Potential Threat, and Thanatonic Desire. Meadows is going to be an outstanding fucking show. So I'm really happy about that. It took a little work to been able to get Heathen to kind of rework their tour a little bit and do the show. But instead of doing, Heathen one night and the next night we do Artillery or something, we just combine the two shows. So it's really good. Doing
Smart idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's nice when
I hate
happens.
that when they do that.
I know, and it always happens. It always happens to me. So it's nice that once in a while it comes around.
Line them up.
Yeah, really. So, all right. So as far as this, 1984 was just an outstanding year. I mean, for any of us, most of us that were there, it was one of the best years for metal, all genres. These three albums, just three of the greatest albums of the year, no doubt about it. For me, number three has got to be Metallica, Ride the Lightning. Fantastic album. Kill 'Em All is my favorite Metallica album as a full album, but Kill 'Em All has two of my three favorite songs from Metallica on it. It's a great record. The way it starts off with Fight Fire with Fire and Ride the Lightning, it's like except Restless and Wild album. It's just a great 1-2 punch. It just delivers, just blows your mind. The whole album is great. I like Fade to Black. Always did. I liked it when I first heard it. Still like it today. I like that softer side, at least for this album. Pretty much next out. I mean, every song on there. Creeping Death, my third favorite Metallica song. Absolutely great song. Second album. Number two, Iron Maiden, Power Slave. Again, great album. Their fifth album, my fifth favorite Maiden album. Pretty much Killers, Number of the Beast, Peace of Mind, all come before this. And their last great record, in my opinion. I mean, they've done some good songs after that, but as far as like this is the great Maiden record, this is really the last one, in my opinion. But still great. I was fortunate enough, got to see them live 3 times on this tour. 3 nights in a row at Radio City Music Hall with Queensryche opening. Just outstanding,
Nice.
just mind blowing.
That was a great one.
That was definitely a great one. Went with my dad one night, second night with a group of friends, and then I won tickets on WRTN for the third night. It was just a hell of a great weekend. So, let's see. Yeah, I mean, like I said, every song on this album is fantastic.
One question, Ed.
Yeah, sure.
The Iron Maiden show. Did you see the last show they did at Radio City before Bruce got sick with the flu?
No, I didn't see that one.
Okay, that was the one I was at. I wasn't sure. I was just curious if we were at the same one.
Oh, you were at that one?
Yeah, his voice was terrible that night, but I didn't care. It was my first time seeing Iron Maiden, you know?
Yeah, no, we went the first 2 nights and then I won the tickets. So I missed that night. I heard it was bad.
Yeah.
Like as far as songs on this album, like I said, every song is great. Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, Power Slave, just 2 epic songs. I love great songs, great live, long songs. And these two are the best long songs. Number 1 album for me, Mercyful Fate, Don't Break the Oath. It's just an absolute classic. Mercyful Fate are one of the greatest bands ever. Mercyful Fate, Don't Break the Oath, and Melissa, 2 of the greatest albums. I probably like Melissa a little bit more than Don't Break the Oath. It's a little darker in my opinion. But both of these albums are flawless. I remember back in the early days when Fate first started coming out, you either loved Mercyful Fate or you could not get into King Diamond's vocals. I knew a lot of people that just couldn't get into them. I ended up meeting one of my best friends for life, my friend Imran, because we were both Mercyful Fate fans at the time, and he had a Don't Break the Oath fest. So just great times, great album. Just one word to describe the album: perfection. Just every song is phenomenal. Welcome Princess of Hell, Desecration of Souls, Come to the Sabbath, The Oath. It just Dangerous Meat. It just goes on and on. Every song is just phenomenal. It's a perfect record. All 3 of these albums just really, really great. Set the tone for what metal was to be and what it started becoming.
Cool. Ed, I find this, I mean, I do these battle things all the time. We've done them on this channel. I do them on Pete. Sometimes it's so easy. Tonight it just seemed like, who do you put in last place?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started this list, I was like, all right, I knew exactly what the order was going to be. I listened to the albums and no, I like Power Slave a little more than Ride the Lightning.
Yeah.
Next week I may change.
It could change by morning, I think.
Yep.
All right. And Danny, you're keeping score, right?
I am keeping score. It's pretty tight race, guys.
Pretty tight right now. Okay, all right.
Pretty tight. Pretty tight.
Is this like halftime? Do we get the halftime score? End of the end of the second, end of the first period, end of the second period.
You're pretty much halfway now.
All right.
You want to like half point count or no?
Yeah, why not? Let's give us the halftime score.
Right now at halftime, the score is Iron Maiden Power Slave at number 3, Mercyful Fate Don't Break the Oath number 2, and Metallica Ride the Lightning at number 1.
All right. So here we go. It's halftime. The second half is kickoff is going right now, and we're gonna go to Denny, how about we just get your picks right now since we're talking to you at halftime, but you'll have to come back at the end and give us the final score.
Okay, so for me, so not even in the same discussion, in the same planet, in the same universe as the other two record, at number 3 is Power Slave, and I'll explain to you why. So, I bought the first Maiden when it came out. I bought Killers when it came out, about Number of the Beast and all that. And I guess my biggest disappointment with Power Slave was that there was no bottom end. Like, the album sounds very, like, light. It's almost like fucking Steve Harris. I decided that his Fender Precision would be just like ding, 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 ding. And there's no fucking, like, power on that album. So that was my first thing. The first time I heard the album, I was like, fuck, and I was already pissed off that they switched from Clive Burr to Nick. So like, I was already upset about that. But at least the drumming in Peace of Mind is still like there's some action, there's more like action, more like, yeah. So like Power Slave for me, I love Ace's Eye. It's a great fucking song, and you know what? It's one of my favorite like Maiden song. I'm not gonna shit on it. To me, it's a bit of a lesser good Invaders, but it's still pretty good. I love Invaders better, and that's my own personal opinion.
I love
Invaders. And aside, Power Slave is pretty good, but the rest of the album, like, I think there's a lot of fillers. 2 Minutes of Midnight is a ripoff of all the other fucking new wave of British heavy metal bands riff that came out the previous 3 fucking years. It's a ripoff of Stand Up and Shout by Dio. It's a ripoff of all these fucking riff, like, and they just made it more soft, I guess. So I was not
that glory.
Lost for Words, like as an instrumental, Lost for Riffs. Like, where's the fucking riffs? Where's Transylvania? Where's like the March of Ice? So at number 3, Power Slave, not my favorite Iron Maiden, and not a fan of that album. Even the Egyptian theme, like I bought like fucking Celtic Frost, Morbid Tales the same day I bought like probably not a great idea to compare these two records. The Morbid Tales punching like crazy, and the other one sounded like very thin. But still, there's some good to that album, but not for me. Not even close to the other two. At number 2, am I passionate enough about Power Slave? At number 2, Mercyful Fate Don't Break the Oath. It's a great fucking record, and Count, you're right. That 1-2 punch, Melissa, Don't Break the Oath. I always play like the album back to back. Favorite song, my favorite, like similar to my buddy Miles. It's like Gypsy is one of my favorite, like Mercyful. Yeah. It's so good. The fucking the beat, the groove of it, it just works for me. And I don't think this album is as good as Melissa, because Melissa was so new, fresh, raw, and like it was just new and like so unexpected. But there's still like the old, the song is fucking Dangerous Meeting, Night of the Unborn, Desecration of Soul. I mean, like it's definitely like a great album. And number 1, and that's me saying that, I'm not a fucking Metallica fan, but when I bought Ride the Lightning and I brought it home, right? Similar to what like Martin Popov sent in his like Collectors to Heavy Metal Guide, it takes 90 seconds of this album to realize that heavy metal has now reached a different level. Like when like Fight Fire with Fire kicks in, it's not the same anymore. Like it's not, like okay, you have like Accent
Exactly.
Fast as a Shark and some like quick little like start of a fucking album. That one punch you right in the face. It goes from like super soft to like goes right through you. And like it's the biggest difference I ever heard from a debut album to a second album. I know they went to Denmark in the woods and got fucking whipped by like priests. I don't know what the fuck happened there, but like they came out from Kill 'Em All, which is a pretty straight up, like kind of like punkish to your face to like something like completely fucking different and like so good. So I'd love for my band to go in the woods and get whipped by priests and good, but like definitely like Ride the Lightning for me out of these three records is number one.
All right. And I don't know if you're going to get put on the next Iron Maiden tour after that one, Danny. But John's already burnt his bridges with Metallica and Megadeth on the show a few weeks ago.
Yes. I'm sure there's other ones I burn bridges with too.
So
Barnes.
I'm also no friend of geezers either, right?
Chris Barnes.
Yeah, Chris Barnes. Yeah, the list goes on.
All right, so we got a couple people left. We got Tony Dio, we got Frank, we got Brad Mader, we got me, we got John McAtee, we have Tracy Stanton. How about we go to Mr. McAtee, then we're going to Tracy, then we're going to Frank, Brad, Tony, and wrap it up with me, and then Denny comes back. Hopefully I can remember what I just told you in order.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's a tough choice between these three. I mean, my least favorite one is pretty easy. I mean, it's if you at the time I might not have thought so, but the way I kind of sorted everything out was not what made the biggest impact, but what albums I go back to the most because if I would have went with the impact, it would have been kind of similar to what a lot of you guys did, and I figured I'd mix it up a little bit. So I just basically go with what I go to the most, and probably my least one I return to is Power Slave by Iron Maiden. I mean, I bought the original album when I was a kid. I mean, I was totally Iron Maiden freak. Bought the picture disc, of Aces High,
Nice.
and the picture disc of 2 Minutes to Midnight. So I was totally like diehard Iron Maiden fan at the time. I do admit that there was a big difference between this and Peace of Mind. Peace of Mind is my favorite Bruce Dickinson album, in my opinion, and I think it's Nico McBrain's best album. And you could tell what Denny said was the drums on Power Slave are missing something that Peace of Mind had. Like there was like a fire on Peace of Mind that was just great. And I think Nico McBrain's a great drummer. It's not that, but there was just something better about like Where Eagles Dare and stuff like that off Peace of Mind, where the drums were just really killing it. And it almost seemed like on Power Slave, it took a little bit of a back seat to, in the song writing or whatnot. But and I remember when the first song I think I heard was 2 Minutes to Midnight. I want to say I can't remember for sure, but it might even have been like the video or something I seen, like the world premiere or something of it. And I thought it was good. I just thought the song was a little too long, and it was a lot like about 5 other songs that I heard. That riff, that main riff is basically I mean, Denny's right too. It's a ripoff of a lot of other songs, but I still thought it was cool. I mean, I was young enough where that didn't bother me too much or whatever, but listening back to it, it's just kind of like, yeah, it's good. I mean, the whole album's good. I like all the songs. They're not bad. They're just by far, they're not the best Iron Maiden songs. I mean, if I had to like rate this album, I'd probably rate, I rate like Killers is probably my favorite. What's it?
No.
Peace of Mind, Iron Maiden. I even like Brave New World better than this. You know, it's like there's a lot of
Wow.
Iron Maiden
Fantastic
records I
album.
like better than Power Slave, but it's not a bad album. I mean, it's definitely not over bloated, but it's definitely more bloated. That's where they got into their more longer songs and stuff. Because it seems like, I mean, like now when you buy an Iron Maiden album, it's like it's 2 albums of like 1 or 2 albums, 2 songs aside or something,
Right.
which is just like insane, you know, in my opinion. But this was like kind of the beginning of them like really over bloating their songs, like the songs on Killers, the songs even on what was it, Piece of Mind. They just they were more lean in my opinion, and I like that better. And even though I do like epic stuff, it just seemed like they were just getting a little bit too I don't know. Bands get caught up in their own bullshit, you know. Sometimes they want to like really they want to make these big epic-y things, and I get it. It fits with the whole Egyptian vibe and stuff, but to me, it's just a little too much. So that's number 3 for me. And I seen them live on the tour. It was great. I mean, even though Bruce couldn't sing, I didn't care. I was just happy to see him play, and the stage show was good. I probably by that time it was getting a little less darker the stage show, but for me it was my first time seeing him, so it was good. I don't hate it, and you know the album or anything. It just compared to the next 2, it's you know, yeah, like it's not even really in the ballpark or whatever. My number 2, I'd have to go with Ride the Lightning. If I was going on being influential, I would say Ride the Lightning was probably more influential at the time. But and I love Ride the Lightning from back to front. I think it's a great album. I love the tones on the album. You know, it definitely was impactful when you heard Fight Fire with Fire. It was a game changer for sure. I mean, it's an amazing album. I mean, Fight Fire with Fire is still probably one of the best thrash songs out there these days. Oh, I didn't pick my favorite songs off the Iron Maiden album. I guess I should do that real quick. I'd have to go with probably I don't know, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Power Slave. I don't know. Nothing else is really that good. Rhyme Ancient Mariner, maybe.
Patience High.
You know, I mean, like they're all good, but I'm saying like top tier good, you know,
Yeah.
when I think of Iron Maiden songs. And then anyway, so getting back to Ride the Lightning, yeah, you know, it's the most important album probably in thrash and even probably death metal, any kind of extreme metal, because there was something different that changed when that album came out. Even though Kill 'Em All is a groundbreaking album, this was like the next level of groundbreaking album. It was pretty impressive that Metallica did that. The jump from Ride the Lightning to Master of Puppets is not as big as the jump from Kill 'Em All to Ride the Lightning, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Right.
But because it's almost like Master of Puppets is like a more refined Ride the Lightning or something.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
Well,
it's almost
yep.
identical. It's really almost an identical album if you really go song to song. It's kind of crazy. But
One's
anyway,
just
my
more
favorite,
polished.
yeah, it's more polished. Yeah, it's more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I think Master of Puppets is a good album. It's still probably my 3rd favorite Metallica album, but it's really good. But Ride the Lightning is arguably my favorite Metallica album. It was tough because both the first 2 were so impactful. It's hard to choose. But as far as favorite songs, that's tough to say because every song on that album is almost perfect. Fight Fire with Fire, just because of the impact, I'll pick. Trapped Under Ice, I think that's a killer song. Yeah, looking at it, probably Escape's probably the weakest one off it, but it's still an amazing song. And the song Ride the Lightning is probably my favorite on the album too. Well, at least one of my favorites. That was the first song I heard. And I think I actually heard it on a radio, like they're playing a show and they played that song, just that first riff on the radio with, you know, the high guitar part or whatever. And as soon as I heard that and heard that that was Metallica, I was like, oh, I'm buying this album for sure. It was just like the heaviest thing I think I ever heard in my life at that point. At least that was the impact it made. Then my favorite album, obviously, is out of the 3 is "Don't Break the Oath" by Mercyful Fate. I listen to this album still all the time, and every song on this album is just amazing. Oh yeah, I forgot to show my little. I got for Metallica. I have obviously the first pressing of this on Mega Force, and then this one. I don't even know what this one's on, the Creeping Death one.
Oh yeah,
but it's yeah.
Music for Nations.
Is it Music for Nations? I don't even know.
Should
Yeah,
be.
I figured Theo would know. And then, but yeah, and this is my original copy of Don't Break the Oath.
Nice.
I think is this okay. This I forget because I have two copies of it. One of them was a cutout. One was the regular one. Anyway, Don't Break the Oath is is like an album I listen to still all the time. It's just something about it. It just stuck with me. When I first heard this album, it was the evilest thing I think I ever heard. I mean,
right.
Oh, man, every song, Desecration of Souls, the first time hearing that, hearing Dangerous Meeting, The Oath, it just, and it was also, it means a lot to me because it was like kind of like the first real kind of undergroundish band I seen live. So that also made a huge impact on me, but it was an amazing, it's an amazing album everybody knows. And yeah, I don't have a favorite song off it. Every song from start to finish is my favorite. If I have to pick, I'll just pick a random one. I'll say Desecration of Souls, The Oath, and I don't know, Night of the Unborn. It doesn't matter though. They're all mint.
Cool. Yeah, good songs.
So that's my pick.
Thank you, John. Thanks for coming on the channel. And you've got some plans with Incantation going on.
Yep.
When do you leave for tour again?
We leave for tour at the beginning of March. We do Decapitated Us and Nervosa.
Yeah.
We're going to be touring like Southern Europe, and that'll be a real blast. It'd be great to tour with both bands. Really, it's going to be awesome. Besides that, we're also doing the Milwaukee Metal Fest on the Friday night. So check that out. And we have a lot of cool stuff in the works on the Incantation front. We've been busy as fuck over here.
Nice. Look forward.
You got to bring that stateside, John. You're on a mission.
That'd be awesome. Hell yeah. That'd be here. I'll have to talk to those guys. Oh, well, both bands when I get there.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Preeka's an amazing woman too. She's
Preeka,
through everything.
They also just announced a new drummer today.
Yes.
Yeah, another drummer.
I found out because we were trying to talk with their drummer about some stuff for the tour, and we didn't hear back from her about it. And I was wondering what the fuck's going on. And I found out today she's out of the band. So I was like, oh, okay, makes sense.
And she's throwing us together real quick, making magic happen.
Yeah. She seems to always kind of pull through though with a lineup.
She has, yes, she has.
And the new drummer is like first big band. She's like really young and really like fresh, so that's going to be nice.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I only heard of that she had a new drummer. I didn't get to look into it yet, so that's good news.
Well, anyhow, we're going to pop right over to you now, Tracy, and welcome to the Rock Fantasy Files, a newbie on the channel. We hope you come back often and talk music with us, and let us know what you've got going on. You just started a radio show, am I not mistaken?
Yep, an internet radio show. Like I was saying before, it's kind of basic in terms of there's not a lot of commentary. There's not a lot of, it's all about the music. And the great thing is we can get our little bands heard. Anybody who has anything that somebody wants to get on the radio, we're willing to hear it out and put it on. And we've got people who cover every genre. I'm covering the tough stuff. I'm doing more the thrash and death and extreme metal. So I'm easing everybody into this, but I told them we're the committed people. You'll get more committed listeners now throwing this on the radio instead of just like the heavy metal and hard rock. So it's an experiment on their behalf, but it's going very well. Third show in, and we've got a bunch of new listeners. And like I said, anybody has an obscure band they want to get out there, somebody different, we're willing to put it out there on a very local level.
And how do we find you on?
It's WXAX Radio. You can find it on the iStore. and you can find it in Android, and you can also access it on the internet on 365 Live.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
We'll try to put the links to that in the liner notes of the episode
Yeah,
too
that
when we
would be
get this
nice.
up. All right, cool.
I'll send them so I'll send them to you right after.
Yeah,
we get
do
done.
that, and I'll put them on there so anybody that's viewing it can check it out and go listen. So Tracy, what are your picks tonight on this?
Okay, this brings me back
battle?
to a very young age. So I'm still dabbling my way into metal. My first one that I would have to say Power Slave comes third.
Okay.
I was awaited. It was awaited. You know, Iron Maiden was, you know, on the roster. We were waiting for this to come out. And like many of you said, I think it was a great album in general, but you just have to go with the basic 3 songs off the album, and the rest more felt like filler. So, yeah, I'm going with Aces High and Power Slave, of course, and 2 Minutes to Midnight. Those are your 3 basic plays on this album. Awesome plays. I mean, they were just out there all over the place. They caught radio play. We were all banging our heads to it, but as it's released, I'm still sneaking back into where we're going next. The next one is definitely The Oath. And this is, to me, an utmost of influential, because now this is taking me in a new direction, being a young ear listening to metal. I guess we've heard Melissa. Melissa came through, and now this was a perfect extension to where it was leading us. And the whole album is amazing, and that's the only reason why it won over Power Slave for me, and where it brought us to, into the whole black metal feel, bringing on that whole powerful push to the next level. I would say off of that, Gypsy is definitely my favorite off the album. Then I would have to say, I actually like Nightmare, but Desecration of the Souls is still a top-notch song off the album. But that's one album you can listen into in its entirety, and it has enough transition where I think Power Slave doesn't quite have the transition. It doesn't flow quite as smoothly as The Oath does. And my top album is definitely Ride the Lightning, because it changed the world. I mean, we all had gotten the Kill 'Em All, and we got the idea, and I just feel so many songs on this album was orchestrated. You could see how it was put together as you're hearing it. And I'm going to have to go with For Whom the Bell Tolls. That song really just, it grabs you by parts that I do not have. Really,
that's how you know it's good, if it grabs parts you don't even have.
Yeah. That I don't have. And it struck close to home. I live in a very Revolutionary War era area, so it like I could relate to it just from things that we've seen in our area. So that's why that song grabbed me. But you can't go wrong with every song on this album. It's as simple as that. I mean, we were 14 years old, hanging out in cars because you weren't allowed to listen to this music in your house. And just blasting it. And that released earlier than the other 2 albums, and I heard the other 2 albums and I played them, and I think I grew to appreciate The Oath so much more. Like after it wore down, it was like, okay, let's just break out the Metallica. As a standard play. Everybody had a cassette in their car, and we wore that sucker out.
Yeah, we did.
Amazing album. It was an amazing era. The nice thing about that release too is we've got at the Civic Center, we ended up getting that tour come through.
Yeah.
So that was an amazing. It just set it all up, and it's in that era at that time. At my, I don't want to say virgin ears to metal, because it wasn't virgin, but a different time. We were so psyched for that show, that it like overrode both of the other albums until probably the beginning of 1985, where I actually got to go back to the Oath, and like that's where you just reconnected with that album. But it was an era that Metallica owned, and it was all coming to light. You know, it was hitting the TV with MTV, and we were just psyched. We knew we were onto something different.
Sure. Thank you, Tracy. That was very good. And hope everybody goes and listens to her channel. And Tracy helps me out a lot with bands at Quinn's too. We've got we'll see her Saturday night with her Last Pharaoh and Tower and some Nori, right? I think you'll be there. That's going to be a killer night of metal. So who are we going to next? I think I said I was going to Frank next, right? Frank, Brad, end it with Tony Dio and me, and then go back to Denny to see who wins this battle of metal from 40 years ago. Frank, welcome to the show from Another Demon. Tell us what you do in the band and give us your picks.
Hey, I'm Frank Tosi from Another Demon from New York City. I live in Westchester, so a little bit outside. Still frozen, still cold. I'm in the thrash band Another Demon. I play guitar. And I like to do as much as I can as far as going around and supporting the scene. I see Tracy more than I see almost my family at all these shows that we go out.
Yeah, we have fun together.
And yes. Ed as well. So it's an honor to be here, Stephen. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks.
When you sent this particular battle out today, I took some of the notes, but I really don't need them too much. I just want to say I was born in '81, so I discovered these albums after they had already been out.
Obviously,
I was young. My parents had an '80s hair metal band, and their roadies were like straight up like thrash heads. So like they would feed me albums. And one of the albums that I was fed early on was In the Shadows by Mercyful Fate, and that completely changed my life. So I hope you see where I'm going with this. First of all, Power Slave. I love Maiden. I hate that album.
Wow.
I never liked that album. I like obviously the songs like Aces High and 2 Minutes to Midnight, but I'll go to something else real quick. Usually Peace of Mind, or even later on like Brave New World and stuff like that. I glom onto better, because like John was saying before, they trimmed the fat on those songs, and even when they got into the epic songs in the end, they were a little bit more interesting. So Power Slave is definitely number 3 for me. So when I was in high school is when I started playing guitar, and the one thing that annoyed the hell out of me was everybody asked me if I knew how to play Metallica. So I kind of like shied away from that for a very long time. But the first Metallica album that I went to was Ride the Lightning. And I mean, we've all said it ad nauseum at this point, but there's not a bad song on that album. That album is just a collection of great songs. But they're not one cohesive story, I would say, right? So they're individually amazing songs. It could easily be number 1. I know it's like the most popular, but for me, I would say that Don't Break the Oath, that's a story. That album is one big cohesion of an evil narrative that King Diamond was able to write together. The guitar work on that album is great. Every song hits the right way. Like Tracy said before, you could listen to that start to finish. And for me, it's the freshest in my heart too, because I am wearing the shirt that I got to see them at the King's Theater.
I was there.
Brooklyn, right? And that was like going to church that night. That was the best thing I think I've ever had the pleasure of seeing live. I was right in front too. It was amazing. And Becky Baldwin kicked ass on bass that night too. That was pretty nice to see. Yeah. So for me, it's definitely for me, my personal pick would be Don't Break the Oath as number 1.
Cool. Oh, I think we mentioned this earlier, but you will be performing at our local club here in Middletown, New York, Quinn's Pins,
Sorry, I got so excited to talk about this. Yes,
that's cool. On February 3rd, it's $10 at the door. It's going to be Skulovich from Philadelphia area coming up with Another Demon. Then we're going to have Witch's Dance, which is a Mercyful Fate King Diamond tribute. And rounding out the night will be Jotunheim from New York, black metal outfit that's going to, and it's going to be Ralph's birthday party. We didn't mention that before, but it's Count Ralphus and Frank Greco from Rock Fantasy, my employee. We're going to celebrate their birthdays that week. So anybody that's in the Northeast or tri-state area, hopefully we get to see you and come out and support the show.
Absolutely.
And Frank, I hope to have you back on Rock Fantasy Files again, talking music.
Absolutely. I love this. Thank you so much for having me on.
All right, thanks. I hope
Just
you
such
come
a
back.
great array of people to be with, too. Thank you, guys.
It's nice to have a youngin' on it. To get that, they don't just say a bunch of old guys. Yeah, a bunch of old men around here.
Call it old around
Bunch of old
here.
grumpy metalheads.
Miles is pretty young too. So, but anyhow, we're gonna go to another one of the older men now. We're gonna go to Tampa, Florida, home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who won their playoff game yesterday, and I'm happy about that. So,
hey, like that, huh?
That was a good one. Sorry,
game.
Eagle fans, but hey, we're going.
I'm not.
You're not an Eagle fan. Anyhow, no, Brad, so what's your take on this subject tonight?
Oh, thanks again for having me on. Hello to everybody. Sorry I was a little quiet during this whole thing, but I was actually driving home. I just made it home when you called my name. I was like, perfect. So, hey, who said I can't walk and chew gum, right? But, yeah, I agree with, I mean, 84 for me was a very important year for just metal in general. I mean, and I'll get into it a little bit, and I've kind of said it on this channel before, but those three albums to me were very hard to pick like a number one. And I agree with most of you that I would say Iron Maiden's probably number three with me, because I mean, I grew up with Killers and Number of the Beast, and Power Slave wasn't the greatest, but I do love 2 Minutes to Midnight and Aces High. I think are just great songs. But Maiden in general for me get kind of repetitive on their song structure, and especially being a musician, you know, it's just like after a while you kind of figure out their, you know, their tricks, and you're like, okay. After a while it gets a little played, but I do enjoy that album though, and I was at the second night at the Radio City for that tour.
Cool.
So I did go see that, and it blew my mind. And that same year I saw Judas Priest, Defenders of the Faith. And
dude, that was great.
And to me, like that whole world just opened up, and you know, metal, and just seeing those big productions like that. I mean, Priest came out, and it was the whole album cover came to life on stage. You know, they just came out with that big Battle Cat. And Maiden was like, they had the blow up Eddie things going on, and guys on stilts with the mummy shit. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? I mean, being a 14, 15-year-old kid watching that, man, my mind was just blown. But I always have a special place in my heart for Maiden. You know, I've just seen them a bunch of times, and you know, they just put on a great show. And you don't see a lot of bands that do that. You know, they go out and they just kind of do their shtick off, and they really go out with a production, and they put on a great show. And if you haven't seen Maiden, go see Maiden. You'll definitely enjoy it. Man, love them. But as I said, this was a hard thing to pick because I love Mercyful Fate. I mean, Melissa and Don't Break the Oath are definitely mine, tied for number one with that band. And I just think it's one of the sickest album covers ever done. You know, when I first saw that album cover, I was like, whoa, this is just pure freaking evil before I even heard one note off of it, you know? And I had saw so many kids with the denim jackets with the painted on the back. And, you know, I was just like, man, I really got to get into this band. And yeah, Gypsy is just a killer song. And for me, I love Dangerous Meeting. That whole intro in Dangerous Meeting, just, you know, Sherman going off. I mean, it's, I just love that album, man. It just blows my fucking mind. Yeah, I can listen to that nonstop. And it literally was tied with me with Metallica, but Metallica Ride the Lightning is the album that got me into metal. It literally was, because a friend of mine handed me that album in high school. And he's like, I don't like this album. It's too fast. Maybe you'll dig it. And it was the first time I ever saw it. And I was like, what the hell? And I literally took it home that weekend and I played it nonstop. I couldn't get enough of it. And I think every song on that album is just incredible. Fight Fire with Fire, Trapped Under Ice, sick. I mean, it's just some sick ass riffs, man. True. I freaking love that album. And I got to see that show too. I saw it at the Civic Center. I saw the Wasp, Armin Saint.
Yeah.
And Metallica. And Metallica's, I think their van broke down because they were supposed to go on second, and they ended up headlining because their van broke down. I remember that because Wasp came out and they had to do this big changeover because Wasp had all this, stage show shit. And then Metallica came out on like a kind of a stripped down set, just blew everybody's mind. And it's kind of cool because I got to see Cliff because, he wasn't around much longer after that. And I remember I had tickets for Master of Puppets and it was delayed because, Cliff passed. So I was like, wow, I got to see that whole lineup, But, I mean, that was a good pick, man. I mean, I really enjoyed, those three albums, and it was hard. I really had to think about it, and I actually went back and listened to all of them too. And to me, it was a real toss-up between Mercyful Fate and Metallica, but just the story behind the Metallica, I had to go with that. But I love all three of those bands. That's my three, man. So,
one question. Yeah. Now, you said you played that Metallica all the time, constantly. Did that friend ever come back over your house since he didn't like that album?
Well, when you're that young and you're trying to figure shit out, and especially me being a guitarist and he wasn't, I was like trying to find my own style of stuff. And when I heard that album, it was just something clicked. Like I was literally in search of a genre. And I didn't know it because I didn't know genres. I thought everything was rock and roll. I didn't know. Right. It was just like, it is in most retrospect. But when I heard that, I was just like, I want to play that fast. I want to do notes like that. Yeah, and I was just blown away. And then, the Priest on top of that, Maiden on top of that, Mercyful Fate on top of that. I was just so bombarded with music that I was just trying to fuse it all together to make my style of stuff, you know what I mean? So I was just going off. But he was more into the punk stuff and he didn't realize it, but he was getting into, Misfits and Sam Hain and all that. And that's what he got into, which I love too. I mean, I could do a whole show on that as well. But I mean, I love it, man.
One thing I wanted to bring up you just kind of made me think about was that Ride the Lightning was the album that everybody wanted that they didn't know they wanted. And when they heard it, they were like, wow, someone did it. And it's almost like they broke the code. And everyone, that was looking for something more over the top found this is the new starting point for where we're going to go with music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I agree, man. And it's weird because I heard Kill 'Em All, but that one didn't grab me as much, even though I liked that album. I heard bits and pieces of it was from friends or whatever, and I was just like, but it wasn't until that album was literally placed in my hands that it just clicked. You know what I mean? It was just something I just gravitated towards, and I was like, it's still my favorite. I take that over Master of Puppets any day.
Yeah, and I think Kill 'Em All was a great album, but when Ride the Lightning came out, it was like they were the shit.
Over with. Yeah, and I think they really found their voice on that album too. And it's like because I think Kill 'Em All, they were back then they were still doing all the cover songs, and everybody thought it was their shit, and that was their main shtick for a long time. And I think a lot, it was kind of a raw album to Kill 'Em All, but I don't know. I think Ride the Lightning is just
what I think the difference is too is that when they were doing Kill 'Em All, they didn't really know 100% how to get the sound the way they wanted to. And once they had the money from Kill 'Em All doing so well, and they were able to get that backing for Ride the Lightning, they were able to make sure they got like the sound the way they wanted those songs to be, because it didn't really exist before they did it. So it was like kind of like it was hard for Kill 'Em All to be as strong as Ride the Lightning. I mean, maybe the songs, they could have screwed up and made great production for Ride the Lightning with crappy songs, but they ended up doing great songs with a great production. Well, Kill 'Em All, I thought was great songs with a good production. It wasn't bad, but it was like standard to what was out there at that time, or a little bit more aggressive than what was out there at the time. But it wasn't the same thing as when you heard Ride the Lightning for the first time, you're just like, the level got to the next level. Like, they got it right in the studio, in my opinion.
And
they did.
Cliff Burton did have a lot of more involvement in that album, so that's why they have more structure in the songs, like bigger parts, because Cliff Burton is classical musical trained, like from his family.
Yeah.
One thing they didn't do with Ride the Lightning was overproduce it. They didn't go hog wild with it. Master of Puppets, they kind of, it's not overproduced, but you can
close.
See it's polished up. Ride the Lightning, it's raw, but it's right there where it should be.
Big.
Yeah, perfect.
Now, I had heard that, like, when Kurt went to write Creeping Death, it's like he went back into his like catalog of what he had, and it basically came together by piecing together works that he had been holding on to for 7-8 years, even from when he was a kid. So piecing that all together, and to me, it was like certain songs were just orchestrated. You know what I mean? They got to the point where they grew enough to be able to put this together, and as a band, you could feel them come together much better.
Yeah. I wonder how much of that was the like Exodus stuff too.
Yeah,
that's where
you know what I mean? Because I hear a lot of that in that album. I hear a lot of like that. Older Exodus too. I was always wondering, like, if I ever met him, I wanted to ask him, how much did you peel off of that?
Well, Creeping Death was started there, and he took the song with him because it was mostly his stuff. That's what.
I think it's more a live show with Exodus playing Creeping Death, and a couple other songs too off that album. So they definitely were some of his songs from Exodus, but Exodus was also the shit locally at that time.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, no, great band.
Oh yeah.
Anyhow, we were gonna head over to Mr. Dio. Mr. Dio, so apologies to have you go so last on here, but
it's all cool. And I was looking at this Exodus demo CD I had, because it was one of the songs on here that ended up having Metallica riffs that were later used for Metallica. And I was trying to remember which song it was, but
Is something with Sword?
Yeah, there's one that's called Warlords or something. There's one called Whipping Queen. Yeah. This is a Kirk Hammett demos or whatever they have. Anyhow,
hey Tony, before I go back to you, Brad, we forgot to mention something with Must Not Kill. You guys are going to come up to Middletown, New York. So people in the area, you're going to be up here April 27th, right? Brad, do you hear me still?
He's muted.
Oh, he's muted now. Sorry, Tony.
I think he's going inside.
All right, so I'll finish up with you. I'll hit him up at the end. All right, Tony, go.
Yeah, this was a tough one, like everybody said. I would have to put all three of these albums definitely in my top 100 metal albums. But I'm going to open up with the number 3 is going to be definitely Power Slave for me. I love the record. I really do. I think kind of like what someone said earlier. They said they thought this might be one of the last. I think Ed said the last great Iron Maiden record, and it is. I mean, I like pretty much every song that's on it. But when it first came out, I didn't like it as much as I did Peace of Mind, and it's one of those ones that kind of grew on me over time. But it is a great record. I would definitely say my top 3 songs from here would be Aces High, Flash of the Blade, and Power Slave, the title track. And I've still got the first pressing with the textured cover on it.
Nice.
Have the 2 minutes midnight 12-inch and the Aces High 12-inch. Number 2 for me is going to be Don't Break the Oath. I discovered King Diamond first before Mercyful Fate. Someone played me Fatal Portrait and made me a copy of it, and I got hooked on it, and I loved it. Thought it was a great record. It's still probably my favorite King Diamond album. Mm-hmm. And I went to the record store to order something from Mercyful Fate, and I ordered Melissa and Don't Break the Oath at the same time on cassette. Wow. And one came in before the other. Like one came in like a couple weeks before the other, and the first one that came in was Don't Break the Oath. And it's an excellent record. I do like Melissa. When I got Melissa, I do like Melissa better. I think Melissa has a fatter guitar tone on it than Don't Break the Oath. But Don't Break the Oath is you can definitely hear it's more cohesive. It's the songs are more in line. It's almost like it's building up to what King Diamond wanted to do, doing the more storyline, conceptual records and stuff. But yeah, it's one of the greatest album covers of all time for sure.
It's sick.
The top 3 songs. Yeah, I love that 3D that Count's got. That's really cool. My top 3 songs from this are going to be Dangerous Meeting, Desecration of Souls, and Come to the Sabbath.
Oh, nice.
Got to do Ride the Lightning for number 1 though, because the story behind that is, to me, growing up in rural North Carolina, and I was going to concerts and stuff. Which, by the way, I did see Iron Maiden on the Power Slave tour not long after you guys. I saw them in February of '85, and Twisted Sister was the opener, but I missed them.
We were at Queensrÿche with ours.
Yeah, Queensrÿche was great.
So,
yeah, they were great.
I was going to concerts and I was into Maiden and Priest and stuff. But as far as all the obscure bands, the bands that were on the indie labels, like the Megaforce and Combat and stuff, I'd see the ads in the magazines because I bought like Circus and Hit Parader, and you see they would always run the full page ads. Especially Megaforce was very good about advertising their bands. And a few of them I was familiar with, like I saw Man of War on the Nickelodeon TV show when Boy Ride was.
You watched them on Nickelodeon?
Yeah, they were on a TV show called.
I know. Yeah, I know they were on it, but did you actually watch it at the time?
I did. I sure did. Yeah, because we got cable TV the summer of '83, so I was pretty much glued to MTV, Nickelodeon, like that all day. When I wasn't at school. So anyhow, I was familiar with some of these bands. I'd see some of the names, and I was starting to see Metallica get mentioned a whole lot, but I still had not heard them. And I think it was probably early '85, maybe a guy had Ride the Lightning on cassette. And he was like, yeah, you got to hear this. And we'd always swap stuff. We'd take them home and dub them. He gave me Ride the Lightning, and I brought it home. And I remember hearing Fight Fire with Fire. I had heard Motorhead. I had heard the song Black Metal by Venom. And I was thinking, that was some of the heaviest stuff I'd ever heard, fast. And then when I heard, Fight Fire with Fire, I was like, wow, this is like even faster than that, And I made a copy of it and just loved it. Just kept listening to it. And I remember, just kind of growing from there, because Metallica, Ride the Lightning was my gateway into extreme metal, because from there I would go on to discover, bands like Exodus and Megadeth and even going into King Diamond and Mercyful Fate. I mean, it definitely opened my mind to hey, there's a whole world of these bands that they're not on major labels, they're not your mainstream, stuff that's on Warner Brothers and all, which it would be a couple of years later. It only took like a year or so later for the major labels started, wising up and started signing all these people. But at the time, I was starting to be open to checking out some of these bands that I see, in these ads. And when I'd go to the record store, I'd flip through the album covers and just look at the album covers, like, wow, this is crazy, and put it back and still go buy the Rat album, So that,
right.
But Ride the Lightning definitely opened my mind to more extreme music, and for sure. And I actually had my first car accident, which was only just a fender bender. For Whom the Bell Tolls was playing, and that was a few months after.
Yes.
And For Whom the Bell Tolls was playing, and it was a wet evening, and someone made the car in front of me we were going about 35. It's just a small, like a back road, the other side of a shopping center, and the road was wet, and I slammed on brakes and rear-ended some old lady, So, but I remember that.
You hit me.
Yeah, hippie hitter. But yeah, so I still got my original copy here of that I picked up of later on vinyl, Megaforce pressing, and of course Creeping Death. And my favorite songs are here. Definitely Creeping Death's my favorite Metallica song. Fight Fire with Fire and Ride the Lightning. That's going to be my top 3 from that album. And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So I do have picks for it's my turn, but I do have picks from Craig Kaminsky is one of our regulars on here. Of course, Hudson Valley Squares, Monsters Den, and Sea of Tranquility. He is picking at number 3, Metallica. Mercyful Fate is second. Iron Maiden, Power Slave is number 1 with Craig Kaminsky. So what was that, Ove?
I'm not alone anymore. I was the only one.
And then our buddy from Connecticut, Christian Mariana, is picking Mercyful Fate at number 3, Iron Maiden at number 2, and Metallica at number 1. So there's a couple more scores for our scorekeeper, Denny Barth. Now it's time for me to pick. And I can tell you what, I would not want a gun to my head for this because I love all 3 of these records, but I went back to things that I may have listened to more over the years, and that's how I came up with number 1. And it's going to be different than some folks on the channel. The 3 and 2 could be a tie. But I was definitely coming in with Metallica at number 3. So I started listening to this album because I'm one of those guys that kind of gave up on Metallica a long time ago. I think quite a few some of us on the panel have.
Yes.
And you almost like I didn't really go back and put an album on by them. They tarnished themselves so much when they showed up on some award show after the Black Album, which I was still kind of okay with the Black Album. Some would call me a poser even for that, but I think it's a solid hard rock album. Then they show up. They were our heroes though in the 80s. Everyone's kind of said that on this channel. They were our guys. They drove around. Cliff, I got to meet Cliff. What a great person. And I tell you, they were our heroes, and they were the guys that represented us. They were the metalheads, and all of a sudden they decide to show up on an award show. They cut their hair. They were wearing like fur coats. They were sucking on bananas. I'm like, what is going on here? And so I haven't. And then, of course, it was Load and Reload and Saint Anger and just a load of stuff where I was just like, where these guys are like the new Nickelback or what's going on? I mean, they have regained their form in quite a way. Of course, they're selling out arenas and stadiums. So I'm on the wrong at times, but I went back and listened to this album and said, oh, wow. And it's just like, it's such a solid record. So Mercyful Fate, I don't know how I do this. It's number 3 for me tonight. Of course, I love this album from head to toe. Something has to be last, though. And Come to the Sabbath, exactly. Break the Oath, Dangerous Meeting, Princess of Hell. I don't think people have mentioned. I love that song.
It's a great
song last year. Mercyful Fate on top of their game. King Diamond sounds better now than he did 10 years ago, I say, or even further back. That tour was great. I saw it in Philly. I saw it at King's Theater. Number 2 is going to be Metallica. I listened to it a bunch of times today. I put in comments, what's number 1? What's number 3? This could all change tomorrow when I wake up. But this is how it's going right now. Metallica, Fight Fire with Fire. We've all talked about it. I like the song Ride the Lightning so much, and Trapped Under Ice, and of course Creeping Death, For Whom the Bell Toll. This is just such a great album. It's coming in at number 2. But I don't go against Maiden very often. I'm a big Maiden head, and I love Power Slave.
Yep.
Just from Aces High, which is just this epic, fast, crazy, great song that I use. I put on, even at shows I put on. I said, you want the crowd round up before you guys go on? Put Aces High on. I know Amon Amarth does it every time they go out. You get everybody sings along in the crowd. 2 Minutes to Midnight. I love the Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. It's a long ass song. It's epic. It's actually in the pinball machine that Iron Maiden put out from Stern Pinball. And I was surprised to see a song that long. I don't think it's their last great album because I love Somewhere in Time.
Somewhere in Time is my second favorite.
Yeah,
yes.
and that's coming after this. And I like Seventh Son. And yeah, and after that, it definitely goes downhill. And now I like Book of Souls. But man, that last album I just couldn't get into.
No.
John talks about it. One song.
I resigned my fan club membership because of that album.
If you would have made, it's just they're off doing almost like prog now, and it's changed so much.
Well, one thing I wanted to bring up with Power Slave 2, you just made me think about it with Aces High, is that to me that was the beginning of Iron Maiden sounding happier with their riff.
It's definitely pretty happy. Yeah, I'd say.
Like if you listen to the songs before, it had a darker vibe to it.
This is kind of turning into power metal, you say?
Yeah,
basically, yeah. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
So maybe I like it because I like power metal.
And they get to stay in Bahamas. Of course, they get happy when they drink in Bahamas.
Yeah, don't blame them. I mean,
if
I was doing as good as they were, I'd be happy too.
Umbrella drinks. Yeah, we happy now.
Yeah. That has an effect.
So what would happen if Incantation recorded in the Bahamas with tropical drinks? Would it turn you into a power metal band?
I don't know. I know I'd be pretty damn happy.
Happy riffs.
Happy death metal.
If I could afford to record in the Bahamas, I'll be really happy. I'll put
all
out a really happy album and tell everyone, fuck you.
John might write an AC/DC album.
Right.
What's that? Well, anyhow, that's I thought this was I do these things all the time. I thought this was the toughest one I ever, and I still don't want to put Mercyful Fate at number 3. How the fuck? I never listened to Ride. I haven't listened to Ride the Lightning in its entirety in years, but I had to do it for this episode, and I'm like, all right, this is what I liked about Metallica. It was like you were married to someone back then, and they divorced you, and they turned into it was a bad relationship, and you went back and realized how good it was back then. That's my point of view. Exactly. Maybe I'm sound like Chris Allen.
The beginning was great. Yes.
You went back.
The story about Ride Lightning is that they were in here in Europe, and Megaforce hasn't promoted their tour very well, so they didn't sell anything. So they was forced to go into a studio, and that probably made them pissed because they were forced into the studios, and that's probably why Ride Lightning sounds the way it does, because they were supposed to go into the studio later in the year.
So all I hope for Robin is Mason, who started the channel with us, and John is watching this episode tonight. And I'm sure she's rooting for Metallica for the big win tonight.
You know she is.
Yeah.
So let's throw it back to our scorekeeper, Denny Barth, and we will get the bottom. We will get the numbers. We're going to find out who the winner is tonight. And the viewers that are watching at home, please put your favorite rankings in the comments. Let us know what you like, what you dislike about it. And drum roll, we're off to Denny. The game's over. He did the halftime scores. Now it's the end.
Quick story before we go with the score.
Okay.
Once Metallica and Armored Saint came in Montreal, and they sold so many tickets that they had to play a second night. Now the first night it was supposed to be it was Armored Saint, which were great, by the way. They were a lot heavier live than on the record. Metallica was second, and then Wasp was headlining that show. But Metallica was so good that when Wasp came on stage, the entire crowd during their entire set screamed Metallica.
Oh,
Yeah, they had brutalized on
and
that.
Blackie was pissed.
I'm sure he was.
And
He don't like that.
Blackie from Voivod threw shit at Blackie Lawless through the entire set. He threw
Really?
like plastic cup, fucking anything he could find in the fucking bar. He threw it at. And it was awesome. It was, if you guys ever met Blackie from Voivod, like he's a special character. But like, and then the second night, Metallica has lined the show. So anyway, quick story. All right, score.
Cool.
Number 3, Iron Maiden with 23 points.
Okay.
Number 2,
the comment section.
Number 2, Mercyful Fate with 28 points, and number 1, Metallica with 33 points.
I have one thing to add because I didn't mention that I saw the Mercyful Fate I saw the Mercyful Fate tour. Right, John, you were there too, weren't you? At the Capitol Theater? That was we were there, and that was with Motorhead and Exciter. Yeah, I remember and then I took the bus, which was from Rock and Roll Heaven North with the Zazula not the Zulas, but Harold and Sherry Rish, and of course we went down on the bus to L'Amour's for the Metallica Armored Saint, which a little bit blurry that night was because we were drinking and partying on a bus all the way from Warwick, New York down to Brooklyn. And I remember being there, and you'll be surprised. Even though I live in Middletown, New York, that was the only time I ever was in L'Amour's. Wow. I never drove to the city.
Wow.
I didn't have friends that drove to the city at that time, and my parents thought the city was a bad place, so I went to shows all over. I was always up in Glens Falls, Allentown, but I was never in the city, so that was my only.
You didn't want your car broken into.
Yeah, I didn't. My car wasn't. Yeah, maybe that could have been. Yeah, but that was my only trip to L'Amour's, and I did not see the Power Slave tour at Radio City. A lot of my friends did, but I didn't make it to that either.
I didn't make it to that.
But anyhow, that was the end of my story. Denny, thanks. That was a great story you just did. I'd like to thank everyone that gave their time to the channel tonight. Ovi, of course, B-Rock. B-Rock, what do you've got a channel too that we can check out? I didn't ask you that earlier.
Yes, The Rock Altar on Live 365 or therockaltar.com. Go check it out. It newer bands, it's where the past, present, and future all meet.
Cool.
If you got music,
Nexus of the Universe.
Get it up there.
What's that? Brad Mader, you got the
Nexus of the Universe.
Wait, Brad, you got Must Not Kill. You guys have got anything going in Florida? You're coming to New York in the end of April. You're gonna play the infamous Quinn's Pins finally.
Yeah, no, we're just working on some new music. Going to record a couple songs very shortly and book accordingly. But yeah, I think April will be our little mini tour we're going to do to come up to New York and peel off some faces, man. So hope you guys can show up. So
we haven't announced that gig yet, but it's going to be an all-day festival at Quinn's Pins. It's going to start around noon, and it's going to end around midnight, and it's going to be a benefit for local charity. And we haven't got all the details, but Brad's coming up from Florida, so it should be fun.
That's right.
And thank everybody on the channel once again. B-Rock, Miles of Metal, Count Ralphus, Ed Farsley, Sasquatch Bar, Tony Dio, Frank Tossi on his first episode, John McAtee. Of course, it's an honor to have Tracy on the channel, and of course Brad Mader. We'll see you next week. We're going back to 1984 next week. I'm not going to tell you what we're going to do yet, but you'll find out next week. It's going to be another battle, maybe not as epic as this one, but it's going to be a good one. So we'll see you next week on the Rock Fantasy Files, and peace out.
Later.
All right. I'm going to stop recording now somehow. There we go.